to ATS OnDemand Deep Dive Podcast. So today we're tackling something really crucial for U.S. employee associations. It's this kind of double-edged sword they face, right? How do they keep their members, often those small businesses, happy and thriving, while also figuring out how to, bring in sustainable revenue for themselves, revenue that isn't just tied to dues?
That's exactly it. We're diving deep into some material here that looks at a very specific strategy. It's a white-labeled solution aimed at tackling what is probably the biggest headache for those members, hiring and keeping good people. And the interesting part, turning that pain point into, well, a source of real loyalty and that critical non-dues revenue for the association itself. We really have to stress this point up front. The sources say this can all start with literally zero upfront cost for the association.
Zero cost. Okay, that's a big claim. And the need is definitely there. I mean, you look at these small business members, the typical mom and pops, maybe 0 to 9 employees, they're facing a talent crisis. It's brutal. We're seeing stats. I think one source mentioned up to 45% of employees are thinking about leaving their jobs. Burnout, lack of resources.
Yeah, and they often can't afford the kind of modern HR tech that larger companies use to compete. It puts them at a serious disadvantage.
Okay, let's really focus on that member pain first. This talent crisis isn't just a headline, it's hitting hard. You mentioned attrition rates averaging, 13 to 21% generally?
Yeah.
But that 45% intent to leave in the small business space, that's destabilizing. Think about a tiny company, 5 people maybe, losing even 1 or 2 people. That could cripple them.
Oh, absolutely. It sets off this terrible chain reaction. And the cost. It's not trivial. Sources are putting recruitment costs as high as, believe it or not, $10,000 per hire when you factor everything in time, training, lost output.
$10,000. Wow. For a small business budget, that's just unsustainable.
Exactly. And it's not just the money. It's the sheer difficulty. 44% of small employers said hiring was very difficult recently.
But here's the twist the sources point out, right? It's not just finding people. Apparently, 63% say keeping them is even harder. That suggests it's not just about pay. Maybe it's the lack of professional systems, like for engagement, tracking development, just a smooth application process.
You nailed it. They often lack that streamlined process. Think messy spreadsheets, emails getting lost. It leads to a chaotic experience, and that chaos definitely contributes to churn. And if that's happening, members start getting unhappy. They might not renew their association membership if they feel the association isn't helping with their biggest, most urgent problem. Plus, you've got these external pressures squeezing them too. Things like rising operational costs, tech, utilities.
Right.
Then there are government-driven cost bumps like minimum wage increases pushing payroll up. And don't forget the gig economy. It's growing like crazy, maybe 15% a year. And it's pulling away the exact kind of flexible talent these small businesses rely on.
So it's a perfect storm, really. Rising costs, talent, walking out the door. They need practical help fast. And just to be super specific on the hiring tech aspect, when we talk about processing applications, the system has to correctly handle the applicant's resume. That's RASUME with the accents. Getting that detail right is important.
Absolutely. Accurate parsing of the resume is fundamental. Okay, so the members are clearly struggling. The question then becomes, how can the association offer a lifeline without, sinking its own ship financially? To understand the solution, you first need to grasp how association finances have fundamentally changed.
Yeah, this history is pretty wild. Back in the 50s, it was simple dues covered like 96% of everything.
Right, easy model.
But today, totally different picture. Dues might only cover 30%, maybe 45% of the budget. So that means non-dues revenue, NDR, they call it, has to make up the rest somewhere between 55% and 70%. It's not just nice to have anymore, it's essential for survival.
Exactly. It's strategically critical. Associations can't just rely on the annual conference dinner anymore. They need ongoing, valuable digital services that members actually use regularly. And that's where the strategy outlined in our sources comes in, offering a high-value, repeat-use service. Specifically, a branded, white-labeled applicant tracking system, this ATS, maybe with some managed services wrapped around it. This becomes a core NDR stream.
Okay, back to that zero upfront cost. It sounds almost, too good to be true. Is there a catch? How does the vendor providing this ATS on-demand platform get paid if the association pays nothing up front? Because usually launching software like this involves significant capital expenditure, right? CapEx.
That's the crucial part. The zero setup cost, zero minimum, zero risk claim seems to hold up because the tech vendor isn't charging the association to build or brand the platform. Instead, the model is based on what they call pay-as-you-grow, or PAYG.
Pay-as-you-grow. Okay.
Yeah. So the association only generates revenue or incurs cost share when its members actually use the service, like when they post a job through the system, or more importantly, successfully hire someone using it.
Ah, I see. So the financial risk is basically shifted away from the association entirely. They're offering a powerful tool they didn't have to build, and its success is tied directly to the members getting value from it.
Precisely. It's an elastic model. It scales up or down based on member activity, which is perfect for supporting these small businesses whose own revenues can be quite variable.
All right, let's pop the hood on this ATS on-demand solution. What exactly does the association get to offer its members? What's in the box, so to speak?
So the core is this completely branded platform. It looks like it comes from the association, which builds trust, and it tackles that fragmentation problem we talked about. Instead of Craigslist here, spreadsheets there, email somewhere else, it brings it all together. One single login for the whole hiring journey, posting jobs, screening candidates, sending offers, even onboarding new hires. It fixes those broken workflows.
And I saw something about freemium access. What do members get for free right off the bat? Because that seems key for getting those cash-strapped businesses on board.
Absolutely vital for adoption. The freemium tier gives members things like free job postings, automatic resume parsing, remember, RASUMA, and some basic AI screening tools. Just that much helps them professionalize immediately, gets them out of cluttered inboxes and messy spreadsheets without costing them anything up front. It builds structure.
Okay, structure's good, but what if you're, say, that five-person cleaning company we mentioned? You probably don't have an HR manager. Is structure enough then? That's where these add-on services come in, the hybrid or managed ATS support.
Exactly. That's the next level, the real relief valve for those who need more help. Members can choose to pay for optional support. This means outsourcing things like finding candidates, sourcing, doing initial phone screens, or managing the onboarding paperwork. Tasks that are critical but super time-consuming if you don't have dedicated staff.
And that sounds like a significant revenue opportunity for the association too, right?
Huge. And it allows the association to leverage its broader network, potentially tapping into specialized talent pools that a single small member could never reach on their own.
What's really compelling is how quickly members seem to see a return, even if they pay for those managed services. Can we put some numbers on that ROI for the small business owner?
Yeah, the sources point to some pretty dramatic efficiency gains. For members using the automation features, AI matching can cut the time it takes to fill a position, the time to fill, by around 40%. That's significant.
40% faster hiring. Wow.
And automation reduces those painful administrative errors, missing forms, compliance slip-ups by something like 70%.
Okay.
Plus, because the PAG model avoids those big fixed subscription fees you get with traditional enterprise software, it actually helps offset other rising costs. The sources suggest members could save 30 to 40% compared to using older, more rigid HR tools.
And there's the trust factor, too. You mentioned things like EEOC, FCRA, SOC2 Type 2 earlier. Sounds like alphabet soup.
Yeah.
But how does that translate into real value for the small business member? They need to feel secure, right?
It boils down to professionalism and security, basically. Table stakes features that give members peace of mind. EEOCO FCCP reporting means their hiring process is documented and defensible against discrimination claims. It keeps things fair and legal. FCRA workflows ensure they're handling background checks correctly, which is a legal minefield if you get it wrong.
Yeah.
And SOC2 Type 2. That's a serious security standard. It tells the member their confidential applicant data, including all the sensitive info in those resumes, is protected within a secure infrastructure. That builds enormous trust, both in the platform and in the association offering it.
Okay, let's talk results, the real before and after, because that's what proves the value and gets members to stick around, right? The sources suggest moving to this kind of standardized ATS on-demand solution makes a big operational difference.
The metrics really tell the story. We see time to fill dropping significantly from maybe 45 or even 60 days down to a much healthier 25 to 35 days.
That's almost cutting it in half in some cases.
Pretty much. And maybe even more important is the cost per hire, the CPH. That often gets slashed. Think baseline costs around $4,200, maybe up to $4,700, coming down to a target range of $1,800 to $2,200.
Okay, that's a huge drop per hire.
It is. And if you scale that up, say across 100 hires within the association's membership base, that standardization could represent something like $270,000 in annual savings collectively for those members.
Hold on, $270,000. That sounds massive. Let's break that down for the average member, the one maybe hiring just a few people a year.
Yeah, good point. Think of it per hire. That reduction means the typical member is saving roughly $2,000, maybe $2,500 every time they hire someone compared to their old, likely manual process. So for a small retailer hiring, say, 5 people a year, that's $10,000 to $12,500 straight back into their operating budget.
That's real money. That could be the difference between profit and loss some months. That's value you can definitely take to the bank.
Exactly.
And what about the ultimate goal, retention? Does using this system actually help members keep employees longer, reduce that early turnover?
It seems so. When the hiring process itself is more professional, more streamlined, you tend to get a better match between the candidate and the role from the start. The data suggests that early attrition people leaving shortly after being hired drops from maybe 22% down to a much better 12 to 15%. Better hiring leads to better retention.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, let's connect all that member success straight back to the association's own finances. How does this zero upfront cost platform generate that essential non-dues revenue we talked about?
Right, the NDR potential. It's significant because it's designed to be recurring and programmatic, tied directly to member activity.
Hmm.
If the association gets even a modest share, let's say $300 to $500 for each role filled through the platform, which is just a fraction of what the member is saving, remember, well, multiply that by 100 hires across the membership.
That's $30,000 to $50,000 in recurring NDR.
Exactly. 30K to 50K. And let's keep hammering this home. That revenue potential comes with zero upfront capital investment from the association to launch the platform. It basically turns a member's necessary operational function into a potential profit stream for the association.
And that regular use, that high value, creates what the sources are calling a defensive moat. Why is this service, the recruiting tech, such a powerful retention tool for the association? Why is it so sticky compared to maybe offering discounts on other things?
It's sticky because hiring is constant, it's painful if done badly, and it's absolutely essential for every business. Members might use an insurance discount once a year. Utility savings are great, but maybe passive. But if the association provides the platform that hires every single employee, streamlines that whole frustrating process, and saves the member tangible money every time, well, now the association is deeply embedded in the member's day-to-day operations.
Yeah, it becomes indispensable.
Right. It's much harder for a competitor to come along and offer something slightly cheaper and convince the member to switch. The switching cost, just in terms of disruption, is high. So by providing this high-value ATS service, the data suggests associations can measurably boost their own member retention rates by maybe 18 to 25%.
That's a significant lift in retention.
It really is. And the strategic advice is clear. Associations should push out those freemium pilots, get members using the basic tools, and then actively track the results, especially things like cost per hire, aiming to keep it below $5,000 to constantly demonstrate that tangible value come renewal time. #tag outro.
So when you pull it all together, what's the big takeaway here? It really feels like this strategy offers that perfect dual win for employee associations, doesn't it? On one hand, they get to solve what is arguably their members' biggest operational nightmare, finding and keeping good staff. And on the other hand, they build this durable, almost automated non-dues revenue stream for themselves. And crucially, it's financially smart because it starts with zero risk, using that elastic pay-as-you-grow model.
Yeah, really positions them for the future. Which brings up a final thought, maybe a bit provocative for association leaders listening. The sources seem to hint that by, say, 2026, associations that have adopted these kinds of zero-cost, high-value tech solutions are going to see significantly better member loyalty. So the question for you, the listener, becomes, how quickly can your own organization pivot? How fast can you move from that older reliance on sometimes shaky dues income towards this more programmatic, tech-driven way of delivering value, especially now in the competitive landscape we see shaping up for 2025? Thanks for listening. See you next time.